Welcome back to the Cape CopCast, the official podcast of the Cape Coral Police Department, and happy first day of school to all the teachers, the staff members, parents, students, of course. I'm one of the hosts. I'm a public affairs officer here at the Cape Coral Police Department. My name's Lisa Greenberg.
And I'm Officer Mercedes Simonds. Together we make up the Public Affairs Office. And today we have two awesome guests who actually represent school resource officers. One is a school resource officer and the other is the sergeant of school resource officers. So they have a lot of experience to bring to the table. We're really excited to have them.
Oh, yes, especially in time for the first day of school. It's great. So why don't each of you introduce yourself so people can get familiar with your voices?
My name's Jamie Bungard. I'm the school resource officer at Oasis Middle School.
And I'm Joe Zalenski. I'm a sergeant in the SRO unit, which serves under the Community Services Bureau.
Man, summer flew by quick, you guys.
Very quick.
How are we already doing this about the first day of school?
It was
It's
just
very
the end
quick.
of school.
I know, right? So how long have you been an SRO?
This should be going into my 5th year.
Wow. So what makes you qualified to be an SRO? What's the kind of process that you have to go through to get where you are now?
As long as you meet the minimum requirements, basically you put in for it. I have a background. I originally went to school to be a teacher, so I have a little bit of education background.
That's cool.
Which may or may not have taken play into it. And we were also looking for people with a tactical background, so I have a history with the SWAT team and military training, so that possibly went into play at it as well. Of all the things I've done in the agency, this is by far my favorite.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably every parent's dream as a person they
yeah.
would want in their school when you have, military, SWAT, everything like that, and you just have a good relationship with the kids. You are a coach at
Yes.
Oasis Middle. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
It kind of fell into my lap. It's like one of the best jobs I never knew I wanted. To get personal, about 9 years ago, my brother passed away, and to focus with that, I started running. I set a goal for myself, and I ended up running the Dopey Challenge up at Disney, which is 48 miles in 4 days.
Oh, my
You do
goodness.
a 5K, and then the next day you do a 10K, and then Saturday you do a half marathon, and Sunday you do a full. So once I ended up at Oasis, the current cross-country coaches found out that I did that. He goes, cool, you're going to help with the team. So I helped with 1 year and just kind of fell in love with it, and now it's my team. I currently end up with about 60 kids to start, and last season I ended with 54, and 53 of them qualified for the final meet.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow. The COVID season, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
That was a struggle. We were the very first sport to come back after COVID started. They figured it's an outdoor sport, so they're going to go ahead and go with it. The main difference with it was you weren't allowed to have everybody who could go. You had to limit your team to 20, your fastest 20 boys and your fastest 20 girls, which on a normal sport, that wouldn't be a big deal. But the team, I have so many kids that just want to run that I try and keep as many as I possibly can. So when I ended up whittling the team down, I still had probably a good 10 to 15 of each boys and girls that were still there. So I made a promise to them. I said, if you guys stick with me, stay practicing, because I don't want to lose them. I might make a phenomenal runner by the time they make it to 8th grade. I don't want to, put them down. So I said, I will figure out a way to make it up to you if you guys stick with me. And shockingly, most of them stayed with me. Running through all the different ideas of what we could do. We were going to do a virtual 5K and just all sign up for the same race. But I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more personal. So between the PTO and corporate sponsorship, I was able to get Oasis Middle School cross-country 5K medals. The PTO covered Kona Ice, and I actually created a 5K course that started on school grounds, went into the neighborhood, came back in, and I think 40 plus kids showed up on a Saturday morning, did the 5K. Some of them, that was their first ever official 5K, and they just got to take something home from that season.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I know I kind of live over in that area, and you can always see you running with the kids during season and everything like that. It's pretty awesome.
Some people ask, like, oh, you don't just have a golf cart, or you've seen me on the Segway. My philosophy is if I'm not running with them, I don't know when it's too hot. I have to feel what they're feeling to know when it's not safe, and then I take them to the air conditioning and figure out practice and how to either run in the gym, or we've gone inside and ran the stairs, whatever we need to do. It's also a lot more motivating when you have a almost 48-year-old SRO chasing you and beating you. It gives them a little motivation to go. The biggest takeaway from the coaching aspect is I run it military. I'm very militant. I'm fair, but we don't sit around. You don't get to walk. You don't get to take extra breaks. I push you, and they don't quit. It just tells me that there's so many kids out there that are just, they want it. They need it. They need the structure. They need the drive. They need to be pushed. They want to see what they're able to do.
That's so awesome. And Sergeant Zalenski, that must make you proud to be hearing all this about one of your SROs.
Yeah, I'm very proud of Jamie and everything he's accomplished. I read over his Lighthouse Award from the family that submitted it. And Jamie did not win the Lighthouse Award, but in my opinion, he won significantly more with the family of the student in particular who nominated him. That child had some learning disabilities, and they had some concerns about his involvement in a group activity. And the nomination award to me was like, wow, I don't care about your Lighthouse Award. I care about the fact that you won this family over with your efforts. And fortunately, our police department agreed, and he was awarded the Chief Special Recognition Award for that. As a supervisor, I visit all the schools, and I try to spend as much time as I can with my SROs. And I religiously find myself on Oasis because I happen to have 3 of those schools right there. So I have 3 separate SROs, but invariably I'll see Jamie out there. Doesn't matter what the temperature is, doesn't matter what the conditions are. He's out there encouraging, coaching, mentoring, and just doing everything we hope and want our SROs to do in every one of their assignments.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not only touching, but it's impressive to see it. And what he's done and what he's accomplished in such a short period of time. And these relationships that he's building are going to last a lifetime. Our hope is that the students that we interact with as school resource officers recognize that we're not some enemy to them. We're here to protect them, here to help, and just building that relationship on a completely different level besides the law enforcement, wearing the uniform style of interaction. They see him as a human being. They see him as a coach. They see him as somebody who's encouraging them to achieve better in this life. So it's 100% what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think it's great here, especially. I think the mentality may have used to be of just, oh, after I'm tired on patrol, then you can go be an SRO, but that's not how we do it here. It's more of a prestigious thing people really want. It's not a retired in place gig. We have all kinds of different standards we have to meet. And then obviously the SROs that we have now, and I know you can speak for this, really try to weave themselves into the fabric of the school to be a part of the kids' lives, especially middle school, I think. As an officer, you have the most ability to reach out to them now and really get through to them before they continue on to different paths in life that might not be good for them.
No, agreed. I didn't get to pick my school. The second year of our SRO program, I was selected and went to Oasis. So at first I was a little leery about the age. But now that I see, because I've helped out at high schools, I've helped out at elementary school, and I tell everybody, the elementary kids want to be me for Halloween. And the high school kids are already kind of forming their opinion. If there's ever an age group that I have a chance to maybe get my claws in and help them through life, it's middle school. It might be more challenging, but if you're not challenging yourself, you're not really doing the job. Mm-hmm. So, and I still, every year, at least one kid writes a letter that chokes me up about, just either was it speaking in careers class where some of them, that's the first time they really get one-on-one with me because I try and talk to the kids as much as possible. And that's where it humanizes the badge, it humanizes the job. And then I also started a flag program. I didn't like how quickly our flags were getting bad from the sun. So I usually 8th graders for a couple weeks at a time. My son puts the flag up with me in the morning. I'm blessed to have my soon-to-be 8th grader with me at school. And so he puts it up in the morning, but in the afternoon they come in, I teach them how to fold it, I teach them the etiquette, I explain to them why we fold it, when we go to half-mast, why we go to half-mast and everything. And that really, I've had a few kids reach out to me at the end of the year and they want to come back as high schoolers to help me with the flag. And it's just a good feeling to know that, I'm making these connections that they'll remember.
That's so awesome. Oh my goodness. You are so heavily involved, which is just amazing. And, I've only been at this department now for 7 months, but I've heard so many stories about how much our school resource officers go above and beyond for these kids. And you're not just an officer to them, you're a friend. I've visited several of the schools and just seeing the way that our school resource officers interact with the kids, it's just awesome. And Sergeant Zalenski, I know you were a school resource officer as well. How long were you an SRO?
Right after the Marjorie Stoneham Douglas incident occurred and the state law came down where officers would be installed at the schools. I was part of that first round, and I think we picked 23 SROs in the first round. There were a lot of the officers who had SWAT backgrounds. One thing that people may not know is you cannot serve on our SWAT team and also serve in the SRO unit at the same time. And the reason why is because of the time commitments to each position are rather strenuous, and it's almost impossible to be able to meet both sets of requirements. We have a lot of overlap when it comes to some of the training we do, particularly with our firearms and so forth. But yes, to answer the question you asked, in 2018, I was part of the first group, and you had, I want to say, 7 members of the SWAT team come off the SWAT team to take this job.
Wow.
I have a background in training myself and tactics of that sort. I do a lot of instructing, and everyone came from a background that was noteworthy. Selecting an SRO is something that we take very seriously. You need to be able to pick a personality that is able to be gregarious, tactically sound. They have to be able to prioritize very quickly, and they still need to be able to talk to adults and children effectively at the same time within minutes. And you need to make a significant amount of important decisions with a minimal amount of information. Do it quickly, do it effectively, and realize, all while you're doing that juggling act, that the people's lives that are in your hands are the children of your citizens. I remember, this sticks out in my head immensely. I was told I was in the position in July of 18, I think. And the first day, I was at an elementary school, and all these little human beings are running around the building, and it's a big, exciting day. And it hit me that in that moment in time, I'm responsible for their safety. And I made sure that, my shooting is where it needs to be. My ability to communicate is where it needs to be. Because when a parent drops their student off at school, they have a reasonable expectation to believe that they're going to get that child back in the same condition they dropped them off. And I can't imagine what the nightmare would feel like if that was not the case. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on here at the Cape Coral Police Department, and particularly the SRO unit, is our readiness. Our standards are the same when it comes to shooting as our SWAT team. They have a 90% requirement. We have the same. So I would say that it is somewhat restrictive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could see why so many people are interested in the position as well. I was talking to one of the school resource officers, and I was saying it seems like on a daily basis, it's like the best, most wonderful, happy job. But the worst day as a school resource officer is like the worst possible day you could ever imagine. So it's having to be able to fit both of those scenarios, right? To be the person who's happy and joyful and motivating and inspiring, but also being the person who is ready at a moment's notice to switch into that tactical mode.
Yeah, there's the 99% of the time you are smiling and fist bumping, and children will want to hug you, and they'll want to high five you or interact with you in some way, shape, or form. And it's all very, very soul nurturing, if you will. It's probably the most rewarding position I've ever had. And then you have that moment in time where something is going on, your attention is drawn to something that doesn't belong on your campus, like a suspicious car, a suspicious person, and you switch gears. And the children, they're still going to be children, so as you're moving toward whatever that concern is, they still want to high five you, smile and hug and whatnot, and you're like, yeah, I'm kind of in a different mode right now, and I'm sorry, because you feel really guilty about, I really want to high five you and say hello and ask you how your day is going, but there's somebody walking around on our campus who does not belong. So I'm going to go handle that.
Yeah. And so I know you guys have a lot of additional training for the SROs. What does that look like?
To begin with, there are criteria that are mandatory for the SRO to continue service. When we get a new SRO, there is an expectation that they will have one or more of these classes already behind them, academically speaking. The first one is obviously the SRO basic course. Another one is the crisis intervention course, and then you need to be rifle qualified. And then lastly is the instructor techniques course. You're going to get in front of people, you're going to talk, you're going to educate, you're going to teach. Not everyone is like Jamie, who trained to be a teacher. We do have some people in the SRO unit who are former teachers or studied to be teachers. So there's a nice, easy segue there for them. But we have 30 SROs, and not all of them possess that background. So they at least get the instructor techniques portion behind them. And then from a tactical standpoint, we want them to be proficient with their rifles. People always ask, why do you want that available to you? Are you going to stop what you're doing, go get your rifle, and then respond? And the answer to that is no. The officer is going to respond to whatever perceived threat exists at the moment they understand that the threat exists. And there's a multitude of ways that they may learn of a threat. If they have access to that weapon where they begin to respond, it's beneficial to have it. And you don't know how any of these situations are going to actually unfold. They all sort of unfold a little bit differently. And I would rather they have it on site with the ability to retrieve it in the event the circumstances dictate that allows that response versus, I'm going to go out to my car. No, you're not leaving anywhere. We want them to immediately respond.
Yeah. And for those who may not know, a rifle, correct me if I'm wrong, just adds a little bit more accuracy and distance versus what you would have with the handgun.
The sooner the plan of the attacker is interrupted, the more lives you save. So if I can reach out and stop sooner with a weapon that is designed to engage at a longer distance than my handgun, then yes, you're able to consistently save lives with the ability to reach out and interrupt that plan at a distance. With my rifle, I know that I can reach out effectively at a much greater distance and interrupt the plan. We look at it as giving the individual SRO as many tools available to them. Does it necessarily mean that that's going to be something that gets used in the incident? No, of course not.
As far as major events and things like that go, a lot of times parents want to come and take their kids out off campus, and they're not allowed to do that.
Are you talking about during a critical incident?
Yeah, any type of critical incident, lockdown that goes out, the parents are not allowed to come and take their children.
When we had a swatting incident at Mariner a few months ago, we had parents who were trying to get into the campus, and I can tell you that that's not going to end in a positive direction. You're going to create a bigger headache for not only the people who are sworn to protect your children, but also for your child. Because if you go to that classroom and you're pounding on a door because your child should be behind a locked door in a safe place at that point, you're going to create hysteria because you are incapable of controlling your emotions during this stressful event. You're going to work against your goal. We're going to get your student back to you. In the event of a real event, fortunately, we have not had one here at a Lee County school or one of our charter schools here in town. But if we were to have a real event, unification would not occur on the campus anyway. Unification would happen off campus. Mm-hmm. So coming to that campus to try to get your kid, all you've managed to do is put a car in an area where we need to get our resources. You've taken the attention of a police officer or an emergency responder away from what they should be paying attention to, and you've interjected yourself into a situation that you should not be in at that moment in time, because we are not going to be looking at, we're going to be looking for uniforms, people who are in official capacities doing official things. So you have now raised the possibility of another critical incident occurring and you being involved in it.
Yep.
We will get you your child as best we can, as soon as we can. We understand the stress you're feeling.
Right. Thinking about the training that you guys all go through as school resource officers, I think there's this misconception that like you do the training and then you're a school resource officer and that's that, you're done. But this is continuous. And I think you probably get a lot, oh, school's out for the summer, so what are you doing? That training continues.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jamie and I serve as firearms instructors in the police department, and since we're in the Community Services Bureau together, we specifically do a lot of the training related to the Community Services function, or the SRO function in particular. And we do that in conjunction with the training unit that oversees all of the training department-wide. So everything we put forward in the way of training, the training unit approves that and then ensures that it is conducted in the manner in which it should be conducted. And he knows me to be a stickler for safety. And we just did some training on June 3rd. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement just changed the qualification course for law enforcement here in Florida as of 2024. So there was a lot of training geared towards that qualification course to ensure that our officers in the SRO unit, much like the SWAT team, have got to score 90% or better. And I'm going to be right there with you the whole time to make sure you do it correctly and have that confidence going in. And we did that in January. We did it in June. And when the training center that Sergeant Gray was talking about on your last podcast opens, we're going to be able to do it there. And there's going to be a significant amount of resources available to us to take our training to an even greater level of reality. And I call it stress because a shooting is a stressful event. And we want you to be capable of operating in that stressful event and ensure that not only the people who you protect are safe, but you prevail as well.
Yeah. So starting with the first day of school, what are some of the tips and issues that you might foresee that you can give a little bit of guidance to help people out with?
The biggest thing that we see, and I'm sure anybody who lives anywhere near a school is going to see, is going to be the car line. At any given time, depending on what school you're at, you could have, upwards of 500 cars at a time, twice a day for drop off and pickup. They're trying to alleviate some of that around the county with doing proximity schools and getting people closer to their schools. My issue is We just need everybody to understand, and this is directed to the parents, trust the process. Because we get parents that are an hour early, an hour and a half early, and they're like, well, I'm not waiting in this line. No, you're waiting in this line because you're causing yourself to wait in this line. Trust me, if you do not show up to the school until dismissal time, everything flows. So our biggest obstacle is not trusting the process. Everyone's time is more important than everybody else's, which ends up causing a problem because as the neighborhoods grow and there's no more vacant lots for them to park in, they're blocking mailboxes, they're blocking driveways, and we can't have them on our campus early because it's a safety issue.
Right.
So we need everybody to be patient. Usually the first week or two is going to be the roughest, but once people figure it out, it starts flowing. We get help from our motor unit, our traffic units, and patrol as much as possible because as SROs, we have to stay on campus. But yeah, it's definitely an all hands on deck for those first couple weeks until everyone kind of figures it out.
And I know a lot of parents will often designate their children as walkers to try to avoid all of that. That can be a safety issue in itself. And so I think to all the drivers out there, please be on the lookout for these kids. If you're driving in these school zones, keep an eye on the speed limit to make sure you're not driving through a school zone because there's kids walking too.
Yeah, and we do have some legitimate walkers, especially with the proximity schools. Kids are getting closer to where they go to school. I also know that some schools, to prevent the fake walkers are the absolute last people to be dismissed. Therefore, the getting them early doesn't happen. And then that causes problems, but then we can identify them. Like if they yell and scream, why did you let my kid out so late? Because they didn't get to me until blah, blah, blah time. It's, well, you weren't supposed to be down the road in your car picking them up anyways. So I often like to tell the parents, good luck teaching your kids. The rules don't apply. Let me know how it works out for you.
Yeah. And every school for all of their parent pickup strategies have a traffic flow plan, correct? That people are sent out. The parents are encouraged / told to follow.
The school goes to great lengths to educate its parents as to how the school will operate and how the car line goes, but invariably there's well, nobody told me. And it's like, well, then you must not have seen the parent link, the email, the handout, the things we gave you at orientation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the schools go to great lengths. They do a terrific job as to what the expectations are as members of that school's community. We've already received calls from neighbors of other schools wanting traffic help already. Please don't block somebody's driveway. It's incredibly rude. They may have an emergency and you're sitting in front of there listening to your YouTube podcast and they need to get out of their driveway or they need to get into their driveway or they have an elderly neighbor or they have physical therapy showing up to the house. Don't park in front of people's driveways. If you lived near a school, you would probably be quite irritated if somebody did that. So have some courtesy and consideration for the neighbors of that school. The school's trying to be a good neighbor to its area. And invariably, it is not the school, but the parent who is messing that up.
Yeah. Watch out for driveways, mailboxes, fire hydrants. Definitely don't block intersections. It's not worth being like just that next car over. You have to leave room for the traffic that's flowing in the area.
Bike lanes.
There's no need to block an intersection because when emergency services need to come through, such as fire trucks and ambulances and so forth, there's nowhere for you to go because you've just pulled up and you've blocked the intersection, all because you got to take the 10 seconds to get into that intersection. It's not worth it. You're going to get your child, I promise.
Our hands are tied a little bit in law enforcement also, and I just viewers need to understand that, you guys aren't doing anything about it. There is no statute on the books. If you are not blocking any of those previously mentioned, there is no law preventing you from stopping on a roadway. It only pertains to highways in the state of Florida. So we legally can't stop them from doing what they're doing until they start blocking driveways and some of the previously mentioned. So it really kind of ties our hands as to what we're able to do. We just ask for their cooperation, and hopefully the proximity schools does start to alleviate some of that extra traffic.
We just need everyone to play their part. The school's doing what they can. We're doing what we can. Parents, do what you can.
As long as everyone's patient, everything should go well according to plan. Obviously, you said we'll do our part, make sure that, traffic is enforced and everything like that as much as we're able. But outside of that, I think we're just excited to start the new school year.
No.
And if I can say anything to those parents that try and show up 2 hours early, I know in the charter system, we actually encourage and require volunteer hours if your child goes to our school. So if you're going to get there 2 hours early, we're probably still serving lunch. need some help in the lunchroom.
Come in and volunteer rather than sit in your car.
Absolutely.
There you go.
And then you just take your kid when you're done volunteering. Win-win.
It's never ceased to amaze me when somebody gets there 2 hours early and like, well, I don't want to sit in this line. And I kind of look around and I'm like,
You are the line.
You are the line. You're at the head of the line. You've been here wasting gas for 2 hours.
Your guys' relationship is always funny. Whenever you guys are together, there's always like a good dynamic going on. You're both similar. You're both militant, but also
He's
have
not
that
gonna
like
you for that one.
absolutely hysterical personality. Like you're both really funny.
Thank you.
I'm in a middle school because I'm a middle schooler, essentially.
And I was at an elementary school because I never grew up.
There
Yeah.
you go. See?
Exactly. Now, the only thing I can say that I think I get that a lot of the other SROs don't get being at Oasis and having the 3 schools on the one campus is if I ever have a bad day, I just go over to Oasis High School and I feel like a rock star. Because even the ones I had problems with at my school, they figure it out when they get to high school. They understand where I was coming from. They understand why I was the way I was. And it's nothing but high fives, handshakes, and hugs. So I love that about Oasis, being able to go see the fruits of my labor 100 yards next to me.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And then you see the fruits of your labor with all your SROs being so successful and involved.
I am very blessed with the team I have. I am very proud of them. They do wonderful work on a day-to-day basis. They are embracing exactly what we were hoping for when the program was reinstituted in 2018. They've taken it to different places. They've taken it to greater heights. They have attended statewide conferences. They have just the creativity is off the chart, which is fantastic. I value creativity a great deal, and they are incredibly creative. They come up with some of the best ideas, some of the finest ways to interact with their student bodies. We're incredibly blessed. I don't have children in the school district, but if I did, I would rest my head on a pillow every night knowing that the Cape Coral Police Department SRO unit is there to protect my children every single day, and that they're training in the direction of ensuring that in the event that there is a threat on that campus, that they're going to immediately respond. I think there's a certain level of trepidation that a parent has. They don't think we're going to protect these kids like they would protect these kids. And I can say after 5 years of being at my school, I felt like I had 1,000 children, and not one of them was thought of any differently than another. I would have done anything it took to protect any one of them.
That's awesome.
Anything else you guys can think of that you want to add that we haven't talked about?
We really appreciate the support and partnership we have with our schools. Our teachers are incredibly supportive. Our administrators are fantastic. We could not do this job effectively without their help and without their support and without their, to some level, guidance as well. I remember when I was brand new, I'm trying to have this conversation with this little youngster about what they were doing wrong because somebody said, hey, I need you to talk to this little kid. He's doing this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay. And I'm using words way over their head, and I'm saying things, concepts they had no idea about. So finally somebody pulled me aside and said, just tell them they made you sad. And I said, what? They're like, either you're sad or you're happy. They're the two emotions you have. When they behave well, you're happy. When they behave poorly, you're sad. That's it. And I went, click. Oh, thank you. That's incredibly helpful information. And now it's funny because I'll say that, but you're making me very sad today. And the child will go, oh. And it's like, your behavior is making me sad. Like, well, I don't want anybody sad. So, and then when I see them later, like, you're making me so happy with the way you're behaving. So that was a huge thing. And I say that to say, thank you for the partnership. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for educating us. Thank you for being in this partnership with us. Because without that partnership, we're not doing what we're doing effectively.
Yeah, it's going to be a great school year. I think we're all really excited.
So
We are. We're very excited.
Y'all are ready?
I'm ready.
Actually, yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming to the Cape CopCast and joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Jinx.
You owe me a Coke.
Have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you for listening to the Cape CopCast, where we dive into the heart of the Cape Coral Police Department safety initiatives, community relations, and the insightful stories of different officers that make up our department.
Please like and share our podcast. If you have feedback, you can email capepdpao@capecoral.gov. And remember to follow us on social media. Our handle is @CapePD on all major platforms. Stay safe, stay Cape.